Fun with Failure.
Howdy, welcome to Fun with Failure. I'm your host Dallas. I've scoured for grueling minutes in my fluffy chair of torture to find you 12 cringeworthy yet humorous stories. So sit back, enjoy, and here we go. Unlike most frack ups posted here, this happened 45 minutes ago. To give you a little background, last weekend I took apart my old microwave and salvaged a 1000 watt transformer. For those that don't know, a microwave's transformer takes a low voltage and increases it, decreasing the current. I modified mine so that it would decrease the voltage and increase the current, ampage for Americans, so it turns 230 volts AC into about 1 volt with 1000 amps. I have been having a lot of fun with this because I can use this to instantly melt nails and other metal objects, creating a lot of sparks in the process. Yesterday my new Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus arrived. It cost me about $1,000, a phone renowned for its superb camera. So about 50 minutes ago now, I had the genius idea of filming me melting a nail in slow motion. How cool would that be? And what could go wrong? So I set up my shiny new phone about 20 centimeters, approximately 8 inches, from the nail and melted it. Sparks flew everywhere. Dang, it looked awesome. That was until I looked at the back of my now not so shiny phone. The sparks were so hot that they cracked the glass on the back of the phone, not limited to the camera lens and finger reader, rendering them useless. So, I applied for a job as a cargo agent for my local airport. They take care of inspecting and receiving all sorts of cargo from different places. The cargo could be anything from zoo animals to expensive equipment. Anything you can fit on a plane basically goes through the warehouse if it's certified. Anyway, the interview was going smoothly, and it seemed like I was going to have the job, and the hiring manager started giving examples of cargo that goes through the warehouse. At one point, he started talking about dead bodies going through in long white cardboard boxes, and to be careful with them. At this point, I thought it had to be a joke, like he was saying that the mafia would sneak in dead bodies or something to that effect. It sounded so far-fetched, I humored him and started laughing. He then proceeded to say, "It's even sadder when they get smaller boxes." At that point, I was so confused, I started fake laughing a little less and then realized he wasn't joking. After I stopped laughing, he didn't make eye contact with me, and we wrapped up our interview. Not only did it look like I was laughing at dead people, but also at dead babies as well. I've never fracked up that much on a job interview before. Well, I did it, Reddit. After 3 years, I finally got the boss to buy a new whiteboard. I work at a dive center and we keep wasting paper on dive site sketches. Not anymore, I say. So, as a first sketch, I drew a perfect recreation of a sewer pipe that is about 600 meters away from the dive center. It looked awesome, by the way. I tried to erase it, but the fracking eraser had some sticky bullcrap on it. It practically cemented the first line I touched. Cue 5 minutes of me frantically trying to wash it off with toothpaste, vodka, and glass cleaner. Nothing works. And then I remembered the second coming of Jesus, the best cleaning product on the market, the magnificent WD-40, and holy crap it works. Only problem is there was something on the cleaning cloth that I used. It scratched up the whiteboard. And now there's a tiny dot of metal right in the middle of the brand new, never used whiteboard. My boss is coming back from a dive in about a half an hour, and we were planning on talking about a salary increase. I wonder how that will go. Edit. He had the most messed up, "Son, I'm disappointed" face, but no big deal. So, last night I was spending time with my family to honor my late grandfather by drinking gin and tonics. Nothing too crazy or over the top. Probably 2 gin and tonics and then a beer or two. For some reason it got to me good though, and I was throwing up at my cousin's house all morning. I thought I had my vomit sessions timed out perfectly and would be able to make it home in time without any disasters occurring on the drive home. So, as soon as I yacked for the third time, I grabbed my stuff and ran out to my car, did some deep breathing and prayed to the gin and tonic gods that I'd make it home. They heard my prayers and must have cackled, because 5 minutes down the road from my cousin's, I started to get that, "oh crap, I'm gonna throw up," feeling in my mouth. You know the one. So, I did the only thing I could do, and grabbed the little brown paper McDonald's bag that was chilling in my passenger seat from the night before, and jacked my brains out into it while driving down the busy city street. Anyways, always keeping it classy. I put my vomit bag down on the floor of my passenger side, and cranked my AC and hoped that that would be the end of it. I was wrong. I got stuck in the shore traffic coming over the bridge into New Jersey and caught a whiff of something foul. More likely than not, it was my own puke. And got the trigger feeling again. I didn't know what to do, so in my scrambled state of mind, I grabbed the McDonald's bag again. As I'm puking into it, the bottom of the bag gives out, and its contents completely pour all over me. I spent the next 30 minutes on my drive home crying and sitting in my own vomit. So I'm 16, right? And today's the day I got my license. A little backstory before I continue further. My dad had bought me a '98 convertible Camaro with a soft top and an engine from a guy who restores old cars. He got it for the insanely good price of $2,500. However, since my dad's Chevy Cruze is a lot easier to drive, I've been practicing my driving in that. I haven't even touched my car, so it's been sitting in the parking lot for months. We had tried to start it the day before yesterday, but the battery was dead. So we just planned on getting the jumper cables and starting it back up when we got home. So we get to the DMV and there's a gigantic line out of the doors. So we say screw this, because I'm not a real busy person and I have better things to do. So we decide to wait over the weekend and just go home. We go home and decide to start the car even though I'm not going to be able to drive it until Monday. We have to find the jumper cables to hook the two cars up, my dad's car and then mine. So we look around the closets in the house and we can't find them. I decide they're in the trunk of my car. Just an educated guess considering my car's the one that needs them. Dad tosses me the keys and he doesn't trust me until he gets a copy of them for me to lose. This is what happens. I turn the key and try to open the trunk. It's not budging. I use all my little boy strength to rip open the trunk. Now what happens is probably one of my biggest frack ups to date, unbeknownst to me. As I open the trunk of the car, I'm greeted with a half of a wasp nest which come flying out since it decided to build their nest directly on the locking mechanism of the trunk. The nest lands beside me and then I hear the angry buzzing. Adrenaline immediately kicks into my body so hard it's like a bump of cocaine. I let out the girliest yelp possible, and I'm running as fast as I can. Now, I'm just worried about the wasp chasing after me, so I ran in the middle of the street and, once again unbeknownst to me, run straight into a fracking car. Luckily, it wasn't going that fast, but fast enough when it hit me, it sent me backwards and knocked the wind right out of me. Anyways, the girl in the driver's seat asked if I was okay. You know, the normal stuff people ask when you're hit by a car. I tell her I'm fine and I just wasn't paying attention. And we go along on our ways. Thankfully, my dad didn't see this, and I tell him about the wasp. Long story short, we get some wasp spray from the local hardware store and he sprays the crap out of the wasp while I stand back and watch. So now my car smells like pesticide. But hey, there's no murdered death flies. Seven years ago, I used to work at a supermarket with my friend, and we would play stupid games to pass the time. This one time, it was an hour before closing time, and as teenagers we found that playing basketball with the radishes was funny. This is where the frack up begins. I got the brilliant idea of switching sports and trying baseball. I used to play baseball around that time. I was using an English cucumber, which is long cucumbers, as a bat and a radish as a ball. I threw the radish in the air and aimed it fully concentrated with my cucumber and hit that radish as hard as I could. Of course, the radish goes straight towards a poor old lady, one of the few customers in the store, and smashes her in the head. My first reaction after perfectly hitting that poor old lady's head was, of course, to throw my work shirt and the cucumber on the floor, as I had a normal shirt underneath, and I started to pretend grocery shopping. The cucumber fell right beside my friend, who was at that moment dying of laughter from the whole situation, which made the old lady become angrier toward him. She started to full-on scream at him and blaming him. I mean, she reached a whole new level of angry as she was screaming and spitting. But my friend kept on laughing his butt off the whole time. I finally took my basket filled with random stuff and changed aisles while avoiding any eye contact with the lady. She made a complaint about my friend instead of me, and my friend never told on me either. But my manager quickly deduced that it was the type of thing that I would do. So I got crap for it anyways. The results of today are from past events. So, last Thursday night I decided it was a good idea to cook some steaks, and I invite a buddy over to my house because I'm going to be moving shortly, but my wife will be staying behind for a bit. He arrives and I begin seasoning the meat and throw out the blood pack into the trash can. We eat steak, baked potatoes, and French bread. I share some of my scotch with him, about a 15-year-old Dimple Pinch blended. We go outside and have a cigarillo after the meal and finish our drinks. I bid my friend goodbye and go outside and play a bit of video games on my PC. As the days pass by, I continue doing my Mr. Fix-It task around the house as I prepare to leave the house in my wife's hands for a few months. She is currently on a trip out of state to see her family. A few days later, today, I found a random maggot near my bathroom on the floor. I was like, what the frack? I checked my trash can in the kitchen and there was at least 200 plus maggots in total spread out on my floor from living room to the trash can. At this moment, I am steam mopping my floor to kill them all, sweeping them up and took out the trash. I have never felt so infested in my life. I kinda just want to set the house on fire and purge it. Back to finishing my cleaning. A word of advice. Always throw away meat blood packs to the outside trash can the same day or night that you open it. Okay, time to get back to work. Gotta finish cleaning all this before my wife gets back in a couple of days. Ain't no way I'm telling her about this at least for a few months. This happened yesterday. I had to use the bathroom really bad for number 2. That's pooping. For those who don't know what number 2 means, the men's restroom was full, so I used the woman's without second thinking it at all. Well, as I'm pooping, 2 older women come into the bathroom and go into the stalls on either side of me. So now there are 3 of us. I was using Facebook on my phone and I saw something that made me laugh audibly. At this point, one of the ladies shrieks, "Is there a man in here?" I chuckled and said, "I technically identify as a woman," thinking this would at least calm things over until I finished pooping. Well, it didn't. This lady flushed the toilet and went to get the manager immediately. The manager waited for me at the door to leave the bathroom. What proceeded was insane. The manager first said, "You do not identify as a woman." Obviously, as I am bald in male clothing with a deep male voice, I looked at her and thought to myself, I could just walk away, or I can have some fun. Guess what I chose? I insist I was a woman, and that I feel harassed by this whole situation. The manager was not having any of it. She accused me of being a peeping Tom on the ladies' restroom and banned me from the store. I was shocked. Mostly because I just had to poo, but even more because what if I actually did identify as a woman, and then having them treat me this way felt wrong? I know I technically provoked the situation, I just don't think banning me was the right call, especially when I go to their establishment weekly. Ugh. This all started by the homeowner association sending a letter to my old man, complaining about our garage door paint peeling off. My old man sanded the parts of the paint that was peeling off and left for work before telling me to take care of the rest. In my mind, I was like, cool. I hang out in the garage more than my old man anyway, messing with cars and doing Rick and Morty impressions. This is a great opportunity to personalize the doors. I'm sure the homeowner association would complain if I painted the door some obnoxious color, so I just went with a can of low-gloss exterior white paint. The biggest problem was the existing paint. Should I sand it, or should I do something else? Browsing the local Lowe's, I went with the paint stripper. Now, I've never used it before, but I heard it was fast and easy. Now at home, I apply the paint stripper over the garage doors and let it sink in. 15 minutes go by, and I start scraping. Turns out it wasn't enough of the magical stuff over the doors. Not to worry, I went as thick layers as I could this time. I thought the irritation they mentioned on the labels was some light itching or something. Spoiler alert, it stings like a bee, and I was not wearing heavy enough equipment to block the magic potion from eating through everything. 4 painful hours went by. It ate through half of my brushes, so I was painting a very little amount, even though I tried to make it as thick as possible. It ate through my latex gloves, it stuck to my jeans, and my work shoes. It stung so bad that I had to constantly make runs to the sink with a tub of car soap. The instructions said that soap calms the irritation. After that, I kept at it with the hard rubber scrapes. I got halfway through the first door when the rest solidified along with the bubbling. At this point, it's quite late, so I decided to set this aside for tomorrow. Now that I felt like the cartoonish beehive was off my head, my old man came home and started yelling at me because I was supposed to just paint the parts that he sanded. He is stubborn and wanted me to not scrape it anymore because it makes it look bad. He wanted me to paint over the whole thing. Knowing that it's a bad idea, I try to convince him to let me do the rest of my work, but he isn't listening. Now I'm gonna have to paint over it on the 4th of July. So, this didn't actually happen today, but actually a couple of days ago, which is far too recent for my liking. So, I'm a school teacher in Japan, and currently teaching middle school English as an assistant language teacher. This is my 2nd year into the same school that I teach at. In any case, let me preface that in Japan, most women are on the petite side of the bra scale, and thus, more clothes are tailored to those with smaller frames. Now, I am actually pretty fit, and on the American side of thin, size 5. But in Japan, I'm considered fairly large in build, and am a bit taller than a Japanese average. I also have a chest that is larger than a D cup, so clothes shopping for certain outfits, from pants to shirts, can sometimes be a nightmare. However, from time to time, I do get lucky and find some clothes that actually look good on me, and that I enjoy wearing. One is a red blouse that I had been wearing for a year now, and has held up pretty well, until a few days ago. In any case, my 3rd years had a test this past Friday, and I was the one that ran the memory portion of the test and marking them. So far, things were going smoothly, and I managed to go through the test at record speeds in my opinion. So, after lunch, I assist my Japanese teacher of English in organizing papers and checking grammatical points at my desk, when one of the other teachers come in and ask me bluntly, "Where's the button on your shirt?" I am confused and startled and look down. My button is missing, and if I look closely, I can see my boobs and bra. I am in utter shock, and then my JTE informs me that she heard many of the boys were checking me out during the test, and were talking about it during lunch session and free periods. I am completely horrified, and tell her that my button may have gone missing. She gives me several pins to help me pin the shirt closed, in which I thank her and put them on immediately. I'll return to my desk and finish organizing the papers by numerical order. Students have their own numbers. Before heading back home, I am almost certain I was red-faced on the train. In short, I am never going to wear that red blouse ever again, and I hope by this Monday coming, The students would have forgotten. Fat chance though, ugh. This was not today, but about a year ago. To give a little background, I almost never use emojis. I think it's a scandalous waste of time to search through so many dang icons to find a single one, or multiple, to glitz up, "My day was fine, how about you?" One particular day for me, however, was an emoji day. My best friend told me that she was sleepy but used a bunch of weird emojis because, according to her, there was no such thing as a sleepy face emoji. In my smart butt way, I had to prove her wrong, though I didn't even know if there really was one. I set out to find it and prove that biatch wrong. Lo and behold, it existed. I sent it to her, but clearly that wasn't a sick enough burn on my part. I proceeded to type the sleepy face emoji a bunch, then copy and paste, then copy and paste that, then copy and paste that. I sent one with a couple of hundred emojis on my phone, and my phone started to send out the text slower. But I was determined. After squaring my emoji number several times, I must have been up to 1,000,000 emojis or close to it. I hit send. My phone crashes. It died. At that point, I knew that I fracked up. My smart buttness had gone too far. My friend tells me that her phone crashed too. My phone doesn't turn on for a while, and when I finally did turn it back on, I couldn't access my message app. I couldn't send text for days. Eventually my phone recovered enough to open the message app, but every time I tried to open up my friend's messages, it'd crash. I tried deleting the messages, but to no avail. I fracked up. I sent too many dang emojis for my phone to handle. It's been a year and I still can't text my friend on that number. My phone has forgiven, but it has not forgotten. Whoops. This happened over a year ago. I was at my college 5-year reunion, which involves one too many open bars. My wife and I live in the suburbs and have dogs who we need to return home to. My college is in the city, roughly 35 miles away. For my 5th reunion, we plan to drive to the train station, take the train to the city, have our fun, take the train back to our station, and Uber home. Easy peasy, right? The day started with an open bar at noon. We were caught up with a host of different folks and had a great time. We shifted to an alumni event to my college singing group, another open bar, after which we were both feeling pretty fine. We then went to dinner with my freshman hallmates, where we all forgot that we were functioning adults. At this point, we were both relatively wasted. Then we went to the late night reunion party. Another open bar, of course, where we got to pretend that we were still in college, down to the DJ that played only songs from when we were in college. God help me. It's getting late and we need to get going, so we start heading for the train. We plan to catch the second to last train home. Remember this. In our drunken stupor, we forgot that the reunion party was on the lower level of the city. So when we got to the train station, we saw no entrances. We were very confused. After 20 minutes of wandering around, we got to the right level and into the station. We arrived just in time to catch the train. We both pass out. I wake up sometime later and realize we're about to miss our stop. So I woke up my wife and we rushed off the train, only to realize we were not on our stop. We had gotten off 13 stops too early. No problem, I thought. We can just take the next train, until my wife informed me that we were on the last train. Apparently our 20 minutes of wandering was actually 60 minutes. Now we're in some random suburb at 2:30 a.m. in need of a way home. I'll call for an Uber, who calls my cell 3 minutes later. After 5 minutes on the phone with this driver, we realize that he is at the reunion, nowhere near where we need him to be. Uber shows no car nearby. It's getting closer to 3:30 a.m. now. My wife is crying, and I am puking on my shoes in the middle of this random suburb. Finally, just before both of our phones die, our savior arrives in the form of an Uber who actually came where we wanted him to come. We get in, and I proceed to start feeling sick. The driver must have been a ninja in the past life because within 2 seconds, he had a plastic bag in front of me. I puked into that and onto myself, though I somehow avoided getting anything in his car. We arrived home at 4:30 a.m., at which point my wife pukes on her shoes. End result, we were hungover for the next 2 days. My Uber rating took a nosedive. Somehow we wound up giving our Uber driver $60 on top of our very high fare. Somehow the dogs didn't do anything in the house, though they basically knocked us over to get outside to do their thing. Thank you for listening, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and sub for more content. Which one of these stories stood out to you? Please leave your comment down below. Also, I have a narration of a story that I've found that it's so terrible that it's funny, although I'm not sure if I should leave it unlisted and just give you a link in the next video, or if I should just go ahead and post it. Tell me what you think I should do. I know not everyone enjoys that kind of thing. So thanks for watching, and until next time, you can't avoid failure, so you might as well have fun with it.